Now it's time for your jokes.
Okay, so why, my friends, is the ocean blue?
Whale sperm.
Because it didn't get
Reflects
its
the-
way.
Reflects the
Because
sky.
all the fishies go bloop, 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 bloop.
Where did the king put his armies?
On the battlefield.
It's Queen's mouth.
In his
Yeah.
sleeveys.
Maybe I'm stupid.
Cool.
Armies.
No, I don't get that one.
Armies, sleeveys. Oh,
He put his arms in his sleeves. Sleeveys. Where did he put his armies? In his sleeveys.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go.
knock knock.
Who's
there? Orange.
Orange.
Who?
We know this one.
Aren't you glad we came?
Yeah, we need some
Yeah.
work on those.
So, welcome to the Boneyard podcast, a limited roundtable discussion with the cast of Bones, a gripping social thriller written by acclaimed writer-director Steve H. Broadnax and presented by People's Light, running September 22nd through October 15th. In Bones, y'all know because y'all in it. In Bones, the night takes a chilling turn over a game of dominoes as childhood demons are exposed and a group of friends question everything they think they know about masculinity and what makes a man. And in this series, the cast will be discussing some of the most important themes of the show and how they relate to our personal lives. The idea for this came out of the rich discussion that we were having in the room during the development process, and we wanted to take an opportunity to extend this conversation into the public sphere so that the community can take part as well. So without further ado, let's get started with a round of introductions. I'm Keith, and I play Trey.
And I'm John, and I play PJ.
Hey, community. My name is Eric B. Robinson Jr., and I play Remello.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? My name is Elijah, a.k.a. Juilliard Jones, and I play Derek.
Wow.
I love that, Juilliard Jones. I
Juilliard
love that
Jones.
for you. Yeah.
The plug.
Yeah.
It's always the plug. Yeah. So this is episode 2. You know, last episode we tackled some heavy issues, some heavy things, and now we're back for another round. And as we do every episode, we take a line from the play and discuss, you know, that meaning, dive it deeper into what that means to each of us individually. So this week, we're taking our lead from the line, nobody wants to be a pussy until it's time to get up in some. Yeah.
Wow.
Church. And so we're going to be just, you know, having a conversation about how men assert dominance over one another in group settings, as well as our relationship to femininity. What does that mean? Emasculating a man. When a man is trying to emasculate another man, what does that mean? And what are some instances or opportunities where that kind of dynamic arises? And then if we have time, we're also going to discuss our relationship to women and our relationship to femininity from that perspective as well. So I'll get the conversation jumped off. What from any of your perspectives do you feel like, when do men need to compete? Why do men feel the need to compete?
Acceptance, ultimately. To be accepted into a space. And sometimes I think men have this desire to want to flex maybe their intellectual prowess, their physical strength. And I think ultimately it's just to fit in.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, to piggyback off of that, it's like nobody wants to be seen as the weakest link. You know, it's like so really I feel like it's almost like a survival mechanism, you know, which probably stems from, like, you know, actually when we were hunter gatherers. And it's like, you know, to be seen as the weakest can equate to death in a way, whether, I mean potentially physically, but definitely socially, you know. So for that reason, yeah, I think that we tend to want to compete, want to dominate, want to be the apex or seen as the apex in whatever we do.
It's interesting because you equated weakness to the idea of like this concept of nobody wants to be a pussy, so that makes you weak. And when we think about that word, you know, it makes you think of the feminine, right? That's fair to say, right? Like that word makes you think of the feminine, whatever that means.
Pussy, make you
correct,
think.
right? Exactly.
Just for clarity.
Yes, to clarity. Yes, and so it makes you think of the feminine, and then we equate that to weakness. So, and subconsciously, are we equating femininity or the feminine to weak?
I mean, I was not equating.
No. I'm not saying this is a conscious thought. I'm not saying it's a conscious thought, but it's something that's in the...
that absolutely, to your point, I think that we do, or we are conditioned to, or have been conditioned to believe that, yes, femininity is weakness. You know, when you talk about, you know, we when we're growing up and we hear things like, you know, be a man, or we hear things like, you know, boys don't cry, or you know, don't be no pussy. That is a thing that I think that we do hear, and then subconsciously, like you were saying, it does get equated with weakness.
Yeah.
I think there's also this primal thing, like you were saying, this primal element to it, this desire to also be, because there's, we wouldn't do something if there weren't perks, right? And there's perks to being at the top. And back in the day, and even sometimes now, one of the perks of being at the top is is being seen as the most attractive. I think peacocking is like named that for a reason, you know, showing how big you are, how strong you are, how smart you are, and it changes depending on the society you're in and the time frame that you're living in, like hunter-gatherers, when there were warriors and stuff like that, and we needed to, you know, fight in a certain kind of way to survive, to be the apex and to have the most strength and to take home as many skulls meant that you were able to then, you know, have your pick of women to procreate with, right? And now we're in a space where the need for that in, you know, in developed nations or whatever is like, it's not the exact same. So now it's more of an intellectual thing, and now we're shifting into this space where it's almost like it's not an intellectual thing. It's intellectual and it's physical and there's emotional. This, and being at the apex also has this emotional intelligence quotient to it that so many men, I believe, have been. It's like in the rhetoric of not wanting to be soft, not wanting to be a pussy, and all of that, we conflate emotional intelligence with that, which leaves a lot of us lacking that. We kind of sacrifice that softness that's needed to in the world that we live in today.
Yeah.
I'll say, you know, going off of that, you know, being femininity being equated to weakness subconsciously or whatever. I know for me, growing up, I was reared by a very masculine man father, and I had that same idea too. And it wasn't until, my perspective is, I'm a father myself. It wasn't until I saw my child come about that thing that I realized it's not that feminine or women are weaker. It's just different, because, you know, if you think about it, women go through a lot of painful things every month. You think about childbirth, you know, all the emotional baggage a lot of times that they carry. It's definitely not that they are weak, but I think a lot of times we always equate, you know, physical strength to strength, when really I think it's just a different thing.
You talked about the birth of your son being a thing that helped shift your perspective on or how to relate to or understand women. What are some of the other ways that maybe anybody else has? I can say for myself, I have sisters. I have a twin sister, in fact. And so my relationship, I think, with my sisters helps give me a very specific purview into what women deal with, because these are people that I'm like in lockstep with, right? Like to the point, especially with my twin, we were in the same classes together. We were the whole childhood. So I'm seeing things and tracking through things in real time direct purview into sort of like what the woman's experience is, and that has helped my relationship with them and other women who I sort of support in my life has helped me really understand and empathize in a really true way. But not everybody has sort of that perspective, so I'm curious in some of the other ways, like childbirth, or other ways that may have, like, other things that may have helped you, like, sort of shift your perspective or take a second look at, like, wow, this is the woman's experience and what they have to track through.
To that end, as an experience for me was my mom. So my pops passed away, it was going on almost 19 years ago now. And when he passed away, because he was a man's man, right? And I thought, I'd spent a lot of my time trying to emulate, and I think a lot of young boys spend a lot of time emulating and modeling that father figure, right? And when my father passed away, I was really afraid for my mother, because I was like, who's gonna protect you? You're not gonna be able to protect yourself. Who's gonna be the man in the space? And there was this thing that she did that really shook me, because I was afraid of people taking advantage of her, because I hadn't respected strength the way it showed up in her. I didn't see it as strength the way that it showed up in her. And there was this conversation we had when I was like, people are gonna come, they're gonna talk to you, and they're gonna try to persuade you this way and that way. And she just looked at me very gently and was just like, John, my no is a full sentence.
Period.
And that's it. And there was like, she was basically in that moment saying there was no bravado she needed. There was no performance that she needed. There was no any of this other stuff that she needed, because everything that she was enough. And I've spent these subsequent years watching her and my sisters and my nieces, and the way that strength shows up in them, and actually learning a lot from them and the way that they move in the world. And in seeing the ways that my default can sometimes put me at fault, and my default can also sometimes my default can actually expose my weakness and my insecurities. And another thing that my mom did was she had the awareness of, I'll never forget, she told me that she couldn't be my father, that she was not going to be my father, that she was going to be my mother, and that she was going to trust that God or the universe was going to bring men into my life to fulfill that void for me, but she could not be my father. And there is just the soberness of that in her, and this kind of, in the vulnerability of that was just really shocking to me. I didn't know how to process it, and I think that's one of the strongest things that I've ever experienced. Yeah.
Doubling back, you talked about sort of like accountability or self-awareness, which I think is obviously a very important discussion point, and something that men, especially men who are trying to make the world better in our own ways, our individual lives, our family dynamics, and what have you. What are some of the ways that you can recall in the spirit of accountability that you found that you were asserting dominance, or wanting to, or needing to assert dominance over other people, and maybe why? Like, where does that feeling come from? I know, like, a lot of times we default to violence, men, aggression, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But for me, most of the time, it's like, I'm probably smarter than you, so I go that angle. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta scrap. But at the same time, like, it's like, I'm probably a little smarter than you, so I can assert my dominance in that way. You know what I mean?
I assert my dominance sometimes, and I can be very warm and very gregarious and very, I can have a lot of warmth and a lot of light to me, and I'm aware of that. So sometimes when I assert my dominance, it's by taking it away.
Taking that warmth away.
Taking away that warmth. Withholding. Yeah. Pulling it away. Yeah. And if I feel like the space is unsafe or whatever, I can make it cold. And there's a thing in me that is just like, that knows that I can go, and I can kind of bring the light into myself and just keep it to myself and hoard it. and that is a way that I assert dominance. Yeah, sometimes.
I think for me, where I assert the most dominance is when I'm playing basketball. I get so toxic when I'm playing basketball. It's crazy because I'm not like that anywhere else except for when I'm on the court. Like you said, that there's this primal thing that comes out, and you know, there's a lot of flexing, there's a lot of bumping, there's a lot of trash talking, and so you know, I turn into a red-eyed demon on the court.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess I never really thought about it, but listening to John talk, I feel like, you know, initially I was like, I don't feel like I really assert my dominance. If anything, I feel like, you know, I am normally a pretty laid back guy. You know what I mean? Like and that comes from me feeling like I'm just that nigga. Like honestly. But with that being said, I guess so. Then I'm like, well, I guess really I assert my dominance like through my charm. You know, I feel like it's like because, you know, growing up, I don't know that I was really the most physically intimidating. And like, you know, I was smart, but, you know, I wasn't a genius, you know. So it was more like, all right, let me be charismatic. You know, let me charm my way into whatever space or into the forefront of people's minds and hearts, and let y'all know that, you know, when I'm gone, you gonna miss me. So, yeah.
That first of all, what's so interesting to me in all of this is that the thing that we feel the most confident in, or the thing that we feel we're perhaps really, really good at or the best at, is the thing that we use that we can then weaponize also to assert dominance. You know what I mean? And that's a wild revelation even for myself.
Interesting.
Because it's a superpower. And sometimes, you know, I mean, I don't know, some of y'all niggas into anime.
Love anime.
Right.
But for real though.
But you know what I mean?
Anime is amazing.
Okay. That superpower.
Some of the best storytelling.
Listen, love it. Love comics. Love it all. Thanks, man. But y'all know how it go, right? It's like the Incredible Hulk. Like, okay, if it gets too out of hand, sometimes it can be destructive. Yeah. But it's that power that you can wield. So, man, brothers, wow, what a riveting discussion.
Riveting.
That's
amazing.
Riveting. Just have 3.
But no, honestly, real talk though, I wanna thank everybody for being so open, honest, transparent, because it's not easy. You know what I mean? Yeah. People are gonna hear these innermost thoughts, some of the thoughts that we don't normally share in a public setting, and the fact that we feel comfortable enough to share with each other, but then also comfortable enough to take it into the community, is an important thing. And with that, I want to shift the energy, bring a little levity in the space, and pivot, you know, to a little funny game section, a little Black Boy Joy section, and play a little game that I made up. So
okay.
If anybody uses this,
if
they use this,
he's a game creator.
They're gonna have to credit me and run me my check.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a little game that we're calling I'm With It or Couldn't Be Me. And the premise of the game is I'll throw out a couple prompts or topics or whatever, and then we just all go around and say either I'm with it or it could be me.
Could be me.
We're gonna start with something light. We're gonna talk. We're gonna lob it up into the space, as you would say. Boneless wings.
Couldn't
Be me.
I'm with it.
I'm with it. I tried it.
Yeah, I mean, I knew you was when we talked about this.
I did the other day. I'm gonna be like, no.
The sooner I can go without the bone, pause. I'm always with it. Okay, all right.
I mean, is that a chicken nugget?
It is.
It's kind of.
No, it's a boneless wing.
No.
We're moving on.
It's pretty much a chicken nugget, bro.
We're not even about to go into this discussion, because that could be a whole episode. You're
right, though.
Lemon pepper wet. Let the bone in, please.
Lemon pepper nugget.
Sorry. All right. A woman as the breadwinner, head of the house, making more money than you, or partner.
I'm with it.
Say more.
Oh, now you want me to say more.
Because look, hey, everybody's relationship looks different, right? And you have to find out what works for you.
Yeah.
And I could see that working for me as long as I'm not being emasculated in the process.
See, and we didn't even get to go into emasculation. We're going to come back and do an addendum to this
next
episode. Yeah. But I'm with it too for that same reason, because if I'm not with it, that means I don't value as much the contribution of a stay-at-home parent or a homemaker.
Exactly.
That's just as important as going out and earning the money. So,
Well, we didn't say stay at home. We just said she's making more money.
Oh, well, you're right.
Okay,
you're right.
Okay, that's a different question. That's a different thing.
Okay.
Well, there you added caveats.
Yeah.
But I'm with it.
You with it? Okay.
I'm with it.
I am with it. I just don't want to. I don't want to be getting blown out though. I think that's what it is. Yes.
Okay. What?
But
I don't want to get blown out.
Hey, I just mean like hey, if she making 100,000, I can't be making 30,000. You know what I'm saying? I just need to.
You can't be making 30,000 if no matter what she
making.
Right?
You're not living.
You're right. That's what I'm saying. So I want to be comparable. But absolutely, please bring home more than me.
Okay, come on. I'm with it.
When I eat, we all eat.
There
When
you go.
she eat, I'm gonna eat. Okay, moving on. Hoochie Daddy shorts.
I'm with it. If your legs here, boy, your legs here.
I'll skip leg day.
I'm with it.
Look,
Hilarious.
no, that's funny because I ain't seen not one of y'all in Hoochie Daddy shorts.
I work out in some.
I
got some yoga pants.
Okay, I was rocking the Hoochie Daddy shorts for a minute, big. And then, I was seeing this young woman, and she had kind of put me on blast about it and made me a little insecure. You know what I'm saying? She made me feel some kind of way about it. So, like, I hung them up, but they in the closet.
You
But
gotta
you
let
still
your
with it.
I got
knees.
it, yeah.
Gotta let your knees feel the breeze.
I'm just saying.
I must say, I didn't always used to wear shorts. There were a series of like 9 years where I didn't wear any shorts.
Any shorts?
No,
You're from Georgia.
I know it's all really hot and really humid all the time. But because somebody when I was younger was like, I think it was my auntie. She was like, "Oh, you got some really light skinny legs. Oh, your legs so light skinny. You got these little white boy legs." I was like,
never again.
And I was like, the only way to remedy that is to put them in the sun. But I just didn't want to be in the sun.
Necessity.
Yeah.
All right, last one, and this is gonna bring it into a serious note. Okay. Apologizing first after an argument when you know you were right.
Couldn't be me.
When you know you were right?
Yeah.
Couldn't be me. What I'm apologizing for?
What am I
Well, no. Okay, so I'm with it. Okay, so let's go. I'm with it because here's the thing. Sometimes when I know I'm right, depending on the context of the argument and what I've done, because if I know that I'm right, sometimes there are ways that I can act in arguments in ways that are very unhelpful and cause injury. They can cause injury, especially when I know I'm right. I can be I know that I'm right, and we're talking about this still. I'm about to be like, pop, 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 and then maybe I got to address the fact and apologize for the fact that I went a little too far here and here
That's
to
what I
create
would
the
apologize
space.
for.
But not
mean,
for
listen.
Okay, I can clarify the question.
Well, no. The question is,
has it been acknowledged that I'm right though? Has it been acknowledged?
No.
Nah, bro.
No.
But if it's
The question was framed this way for a particular reason, because at the end of the day, the other person doesn't share your point of view. You know you're right, but do you apologize?
Is this what's the argument? I need some more context.
Yeah, right.
What was the conversation in the hypothetical scenario?
If I'm right, it's not about you don't share my point of view. I'm right. 2 + 2 = 4. Like if you feel like it's 5, you're wrong. Like I don't. You know what I'm saying? And until we address,
I'm not talking about empirical data. I'm talking about feelings.
Or it's opinion. So I'm not actually right. I just feel like I'm right. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
I mean, then that's a philosophical debate that can go round and round in a circle, right? Because if you feel like you're right and the other person feels like they're right, who's the governing body that decides who's right? So all I'm saying, from your perspective, you feel like you're right. Do you apologize? And the reason I asked this question is because as men, what does it cost to apologize? But also, when are the times that we have to exist in our true power and swallow our pride for the bigger picture for your kids? You see what I'm saying? And that's on God. And with that, thank you, brothers.
Bring it at home on the landing.
We're going to wrap it up, but real quick, very briefly, I just want to go around, share any last thoughts, last impressions we want to leave with the listeners before we go. brief couple sentences, anything left unsaid that we wanted to throw back out there or clarify, and leave the listeners with something to chew on until the next episode.
You starting?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna toss back up what I just said. Sometimes as men, we gotta swallow our pride for the bigger picture, and that costs a lot, but the payoff could be massive.
A friend of mine told me this a few days ago. He said you can be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time.
Said that.
And I just want to leave that with y'all, that you can be in process and you can also love who you are in the moment. And yeah.
And I just want to leave you all with my overwhelming gratitude for stopping by, listening, and checking us out. Come and see the play.
Yeah, definitely come and see Bones, but I just want to let y'all know that if I'm right, okay? Yeah, if I know that I'm right,
God.
if I know it, it's not no opinion. If it's a fact that I'm right, you're not getting no apology out of me first.
Do your big one.
You know, if it's an opinion, then cool. You know, all right, we're gonna agree to disagree. We're gonna move on. And if I was out of line at a certain moment, I apologize because I got carried away with that. But if 2 + 2 = 4, and you say that it's 5. We not. There's no more.
It's over.
That's
done.
arithmetic.
Done.
That's arithmetic.
So come and see Bones September 22nd to October 15th
Let's
here
go.
at People's Light by Steve H. Broadnax III.
And if you enjoyed today's conversation, keep an eye on People's Light social media, YouTube, website for the next episode. Follow these gentlemen and social media. If you want to catch me, you got to catch me in the streets. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want us to continue, you can make a donation. We gladly accept donations at peopleslight.org/support. And remember to get your tickets for Bones at peopleslight.org. Thank you so much for listening. All right, gentlemen, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. This is
Bones!
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.